Once upon a time in the real world, on a lonely street at night, a manhole cover suddenly started to shake. Slowly, something began to climb out from within, and the next moment, a woman in a stunning royal gown emerged. She looked around in pure amazement. Towering buildings, roaring traffic, dazzling lights, as if she didn't belong to this world at all. She was, in fact, a fairy tale princess who had always lived peacefully among birds, fairies, and forest animals. One day, fate made her meet her prince. They fell deeply in love, and their grand royal wedding was soon to take place. But the evil queen, unwilling to lose her power, disguised herself as an old woman and tricked the princess into visiting a magical wishing well. As the princess closed her eyes and whispered her wish, the queen shoved her from behind, sending her tumbling deep into the dark well. What no one knew was that the bottom of that well led straight into the real world. The princess, now transformed into a real human, stumbled out of a manhole, disoriented. Before she could even stand properly, a truck screeched toward her. She barely dodged it, causing a massive traffic jam. People stared in shock. Her gown, her crown, her confusion, everything about her looked so bizarre that no one knew who she was. Desperate for help, she approached a beggar. But instead of helping, he snatched her crown and ran away. The poor princess's troubles had only just begun. Suddenly, the sky burst open with heavy rain. Soaking wet and shivering, she wandered helplessly through the streets. That's when she spotted a giant billboard of a luxurious palace. Her innocent eyes lit up. Finally! My castle! She tried climbing up to it, slipped again and again, and began knocking on the billboard door, calling out for someone to open it. No answer came. Just as she lost her footing, a man named Robert, passing by, ran forward and caught her in his arms. Trembling with fear and embarrassment, she looked up at him with grateful eyes. Robert, seeing her drenched and confused, felt pity and said gently, "Come on, you can stay at my place until the rain stops." On the way, the princess told him all about the evil queen and the magical well. Robert, however, thought, "Poor thing, she must have hit her head pretty hard." When they reached home, her huge gown got stuck in the doorway, and when Robert and his daughter helped her pull it inside, she tripped and rolled across the floor. The gown tore in half. Everyone chuckled awkwardly, unsure what to say. The exhausted princess didn't mind. She fell asleep right there on the couch. Next morning, when she woke up, she gasped in surprise. The living room was full of birds, squirrels, and tiny animals that had sneaked in through the windows. It was as if her fairy tale forest had followed her here. She stood by the window and began singing softly. Her voice was so beautiful that pigeons flew in, and mice scurried out from corners to listen. Within minutes, the whole room was alive. Pigeons dusting tables with their feathers, a mouse scrubbing the bathtub with its tail, others mopping the floor, and 3 naughty ones polishing the toilet. Even bees fluttered around, shaking towels clean. In no time, the house sparkled. When Robert and his daughter entered, they froze in shock, and then panic set in as they tried to shoo the animals away. But the damage was done. The curtains were full of holes. Why? Because the princess had cut them to make herself a new gown. Robert almost fainted. Meanwhile, far away in the fairy tale realm, the prince had jumped into the magical portal with his little squirrel companion to find his lost princess. They too landed in the real world, right where the princess had begun her new life. Back in the fairy kingdom, the evil queen feared the prince might succeed in finding her. So she sent her loyal servant, a huge brute named Motu, with a command. Take these 3 poisonous apples and end her life. The queen peered into her dark cauldron, muttering spells, and tossed Motu down the well, sending him into the same modern city. Soon, Motu found the princess. He grinned slyly and said, "Oh, beautiful lady, these apples are magical. One bite and you'll become even more stunning." The naive princess smiled and took one. But fate had other plans. While chatting with little Robert and laughing, the apple slipped from her hand, bounced and hit a biker's helmet. Boom! A burst of smoke and a smoking hole in the helmet. The princess and Robert jumped back in terror, while Motu fumed in frustration from afar. He tried again, this time disguised as a waiter at a fancy restaurant. "Madam," he said sweetly, "a special wine, just for you." But before she could sip it, the prince's squirrel companion leapt out of nowhere, shattering the glass. The poisoned drink splattered harmlessly on the floor. Motu's plan had failed again. The evil queen, watching through her cauldron, screamed in rage, blue fire flickering in her eyes. "Enough! I'll handle this myself!" Moments later, a manhole in the city burst open with blue lightning and smoke. Out stepped the evil queen, wearing a black gown and a spiked crown. Her entrance shook the entire street. Cars died, lights flickered, and the air crackled with her dark power. Her only goal, destroy the princess. Meanwhile, the prince finally found his princess. He rushed to her and said, "Come, let's go back to our kingdom." But the princess hesitated. After spending time with Robert and his daughter, She had discovered a new kind of love, a human kind. She said softly, "Before I leave, I just want to attend one last ball." That night, the ballroom glittered with lights, laughter, and music. The prince and princess arrived in royal grace, and by fate's design, Robert was there too, with his blind date. When the host announced, "Switch partners," the princess suddenly found herself face to face with Robert. The music began, their eyes met, and they danced slowly, rhythmically, as if the world had paused for their hearts alone. But fate was not done yet. As the ball ended, the evil queen appeared, now disguised as an old witch. She smiled wickedly. "Oh, poor child, your heart is torn between two worlds. Eat this apple, and all your pain will vanish. You'll forget everything, this world, and that man too." The princess trembled. The room fell silent, and then she took a bite. Her body collapsed to the ground. The prince cried out, "No, wake up, my love." He knelt whispering, "True love's kiss. It's our only hope." He kissed her once, twice, thrice, nothing, silence. Then Robert stepped forward. With pure emotion in his eyes, he took her hand gently and kissed her forehead. A miracle. Her eyes fluttered open. Everyone gasped, because true love isn't born from royal crowns, but from honest hearts. The evil queen screamed in fury, her body igniting in flames, transforming into a monstrous dragon. She roared and snatched little Robert, soaring up the tallest skyscraper. The princess grabbed a nearby sword and shouted, "This ends now!" She climbed fearlessly as the dragon perched atop the tower, roaring in victory, but the tower couldn't bear its weight. Crash! The dragon fell, shattering to pieces upon the ground. The princess caught little Robert mid-fall, and they rolled safely to the ground. They looked at each other and smiled. In the end, the prince returned to his kingdom, and surprisingly, married Robert's blind date, while the princess chose to stay, in the real world, with the man she truly loved. Because maybe, not every princess ends up with a prince, and not every prince marries a princess, but life is still full of magic, truth, and childlike wonder. If you loved this magical romantic story, don't forget to like, share, subscribe. Hit the bell icon so you never miss a new story. And tell us in the comments, do you believe true love only exists in fairy tales, or can such miracles happen in the real world too?